Welcome back to the lecture of industrial management. Today we will be discussing three aspects of the unit. One is scientific approach to industrial management, the concept and principles of scientific management, and the significance of scientific management. So let's very quickly look at what scientific management is all about. I think you all had done this in the lower classes. About scientific management. If you recall, scientific management, the father of scientific management is Frederick Taylor. Okay, so this is something that you can keep in mind when we talk about scientific management. I think I will change the pen. When we talk about scientific management, you have to keep a couple of things in mind. One is the one who propounded this concept. Who propounded the concept? Frederick Taylor, right? Okay. Now, what is this concept all about? If you have a look at the term, then it can be divided into two components. One is scientific and the other is management. So, it's a combination of the words scientific and management. Scientific refers to being very systematic, analytical, objective, whereas management is referring to getting things done through others. So, when we club the two terms, scientific management, it means application of principles and methods of science in the area of management. So, what we are basically doing is we are doing away with a culture of trial and error. Okay, so we have no place for things like trial and error or making guessworks and intuition. So all these things are cut out and you are working in a very defined manner, in a very regulated manner, in a very organized and scientific manner. Okay, so this is all you need to keep in mind as far as the concept is concerned. So when we use the term scientific management, keep in mind that this concept was propounded by Frederick Taylor. Okay, and it consists of two aspects, that is scientific and management. So when we say scientific, what are we talking about? We are talking about precision, we are talking about being very systematic, analytic and very objective in our approach, whereas management is concerned with, yes, I wish we were working on a one-to-one basis and being in person. Nonetheless, so coming back to our subject matter, management here refers to getting things done through others. So when you club these two, you tend to get a work culture that is very scientific in its approach. Okay, let's go a little further and discuss the principles. I again assume that this was done earlier, if I am not mistaken. So when we talk about the principles of scientific management, okay, the first principle is science and not rule of thumb. So this is the first principle. What is it telling you? That you need to adopt a scientific way of conducting the entire running of the organization. Okay, scientific study and analysis of each job has to be taken into consideration. Decisions should be based on facts and figures and data rather than just, like I said earlier, about opinions, beliefs, intuition, guesswork, trial. All these have to be kept aside and you have to be very precise, you have to be very scientific in carrying out every job. Clear? Next principle is talking about division of work. So what do you understand by division of work? The total work has to be divided into smaller components. So instead of the entire job being carried out, what is the other alternative? You could cut down the job, you could slice down the job into smaller jobs. Now Frederick Taylor was of the opinion that the organization can be divided into two types of work. One is the operating work and the other is the managerial work. you could also talk in terms of planning and doing. So you have one aspect where the organization is concerned with planning, and the other aspect of the organization is concerned with the implementation or doing. So take a job, slice it into smaller components and see how best the work can be divided. Division of work also leads to specialization, because you are constantly doing the same type of job again, over and over again. Then the third principle is talking about one best way of doing things. Now, any job, any work can be carried out in probably n ways of doing any work. There could be number of ways of doing work. Now, out of the n ways of doing work, that is number of ways of doing work, identify the best way of doing work. When we use the word best, it could be in terms of saving your time, it could be in terms of saving your resources. Okay, so you need to identify out of the various ways of carrying out a particular job, which is the best way of doing a particular job. Fine. Then the fourth principle is talking about scientific selection of workers. What is scientific selection of workers? You are going to ensure that you have the right men on the right job, that there is a perfect match between the job and the job holder. So it's not because you like a particular candidate or you got a phone call from some influential person asking you to appoint a particular candidate. That should not be the reason. The reason should be scientific. That is, there is a perfect match between the job and the job holder, that there is the right man on the right job. So you have to undertake scientific selection of workers. Next is development and training of workers. So you need to enhance the skills, the abilities, the capabilities of your workers. So you need to upgrade, just like you upgrade your machines, you also need to upgrade and train and develop the skills and abilities of your workers, and this should be done consistently, because there are constant change happening. We are living in a dynamic world, and hence it is very important that training programs, orientation programs are conducted on a regular basis. Next is harmony in group action. Harmony in group action. What is harmony in group action? There is mutual give and take, there is a spirit of teamship, people work together as one great family, right? So there has to be an element of harmony at workplace. If there is constant conflict, fights, arguments, then when you have such a volatile environment, then it becomes very difficult to work. Next is maximum output. So if you recall Frederick Taylor, he equated men to machines. He wanted the maximum output. He concentrated on maximum production, increasing the efficiency of the workers. Okay, so he is of the opinion that if the employees give their best, the employers and society in general will also stand to gain. So everybody, it's a win-win situation for everybody. So the principle is stressing on maximum output or production. And the eighth principle is telling you cordial relations. Okay, cordial relations. So when we talk about cordial relations, the stress here is between the managers and workers. So a smooth work relation, a friendly, warm work relation, pleasant work relations is very much required if at all you are serious about getting maximum output. So these are some of the principles, 8 principles that you are expected to know. I will revise once again the principles. The first principle is saying science and not rule of thumb. So the focus is keeping it, or rather giving attention to facts, figures, rather than being very judgmental and relying on your opinion, beliefs and intuition, guesswork. Now keep all these aside and concentrate more on facts and figures, on data. So be very scientific rather than sentimental in your approach towards your work. Next is division of work. When we say division of work, it is taking a job and slicing it down into smaller components, which will help you to increase your efficiency. And what Frederick Taylor has suggested is that you could divide the work into two aspects, that is, one is planning and the other is doing. One is operating, the other is managerial. So one is all about thinking and planning, and the other is actual physically carrying out the work or doing. So this will help you to sort of cut out the job and get very clear job profiles, which will also help you in increasing your production and productivity. Next is one best way of doing things. So any job can be carried out in a number of ways. So rather than experimenting with all the different ways, identify the best way of carrying out a particular job, carrying out a particular work. Okay, so you need to establish work standards and practices, and which in turn will give you best results. So you could be stressing on saving times, on saving your resources and things like that. Ultimately, returns, whatever objectives you have in mind, should be a criteria to select the best way of doing things. Okay, then the next principle is telling you about scientific selection of workers. So when you are putting people on the job, see that there is a perfect match between the job and the job holder, that that you have the right men on the right job. So this is to be done in a very scientific manner, rather than taking a fancy and just dumping people on various jobs without actually trying to find out what are the competency of a particular candidate and what are the requirements of the job. So a perfect match between the job and the job holder is a very scientific way of ensuring that the work will be carried out in an effective manner. Next is development and training. We need to keep in mind that we are living in a very competitive world, in a very dynamic world. Things are very quickly getting outdated and obsolete, so it's very important that workers are given constant training, orientation, various development programs are undertaken to enhance their skills and capabilities, so that they become useful and productive in the workplace. Okay, next is harmony in group action. Okay, so it's talking about mutual give and take, a sense of understanding, empathy, compassion, having good work relations, work equations. All these are very important for smooth functioning of an organization. Then we have maximum output. So why are you getting so involved with your enterprise? Because at the end of the day, you want the best, you want especially in terms of output. So maximum output from the employer, from the employees. As a result, the society will also stand to gain, right? And finally, you have cordial relations between the worker and the manager, between management and workers, employees. This is a very important aspect, because if there is a constant conflict happening between the management and the workers, then there will be strikes, there will be agitations, there will be aggression at workplace, and the very motive and objective of the enterprise is lost. So these are some guiding principles that will ensure that the organization will operate in a smooth and in a very effective manner, right? So this is all about principles of scientific management. Now let's talk about the significance of scientific management. Significance of scientific management. So when we talk about the importance, the significance of scientific management, the first point is application and use of scientific methods. Okay, so what Frederick Taylor is telling you here is that there has to be a thorough scientific way of carrying out things. There should be proper investigation, analysis, experimentation, observation. Now these are all scientific terms, and these scientific terms are being applied in the management area. So what are we doing here? We are doing away, we are eliminating intuition, guessworks, trials, having opinions and all these sort of emotions and sentiments which Frederick Taylor sees has no place at when you carry out your work. So it's very important that scientific methods are adopted at workplace. Okay, so everything is very clear cut, everything is well profiled, everything is well organized, coordinated, and hence results will be possible to achieve. Next is cooperation and understanding. The next significance is talking about understanding, cooperation and understanding. So there has to be cordial work relations between management and employees, between the workers and managers. So it's basically talking about industrial democracy. Okay, then we have planning and control. So like there is this idiom, a place for everything and everything in place. So Frederick Taylor also believes that everything should be well organized, everything should be well planned, and everything should be well controlled. What is control? I had talked about control in the previous discussion as well, that if at all there are any deviations from the set target, then you need to identify those deviations, those errors, those failures, and take corrective measures. So this is very important. So before you talk about control, you have to have a plan in place, you have to have targets, your objectives, your vision in place, and then control is to ensure that you get your set objectives. Okay, next is appointing specialists. So you could have specialists and experts employed in various areas, and they in turn will be giving you effective guidance, instructions, and they will be sharing their expertise and their experience, their talents and capabilities, which in turn will help you achieve your objectives. Next is standardization. When we use the term standardization, we are talking about bringing a sense of uniformity. We will have the same style of operation, we will have the same set of tools, standard tools, equipments, machines, process, procedures. So it brings a sense of uniformity at workplace. So standardization is equally important. Then we have cost accounting. So cost accounting is basically giving you the breakup. It will help you to identify which costs are very much required, which are the profitable and unprofitable activities, and you can eliminate the unprofitable activities, and this in turn will help you to arrive at a suitable, competitive and reasonable price. Okay, then the next is increase in production. So like we talked about the principle where we are saying that you need to have maximum output. So similarly here also we are talking about increasing the production, and this is possible by stressing on the efficiency and saving on resources, eliminating wastages and reducing the cost of production, and at the same time not sacrificing with the quality of resources and output. So all that has to be taken care under this point. Then the next is time saving. So time is always equated with money. So you need to identify new techniques, new technology, new machines. Automation would be robotics, the new areas where we can save time as well as resources. So time saving is another important component that we need to look in. Next is no arbitrary rule. Okay, no arbitrary rule. So this is based again purely on facts and figures, and no guesswork at all. So every decision that is taken will be based on facts. So your personal opinion, your bias, judgments and things like that all has to be kept aside. So there is no scope for arbitrary rule. Next, 10th point is talking about benefits to all. Okay, so scientific management is not just about workers giving in their max, but also they in turn will be getting a good higher salary, higher wages, their standard of living will improve, the management will be getting higher profits, and society will be getting better goods at quality goods at competitive price, and thus we can say that the benefit will flow to all sections of society. And then we have something called mental revolution. So when we talk about mental revolution, we are talking about having a complete change, a complete revolution as far as your approach is concerned towards your work, your co-workers, that is your colleagues, and your workplace, that is your enterprise where you are working. So a total change, a total transformation is expected towards your work co-workers, co-workers, that is your colleagues and your workplace. And finally we have work specialization. Okay, when we talk about work specialization, Taylor has identified planning and execution as two distinct jobs. Okay, so he's very categorically said that when we talk about specialization, you will have one area which is totally devoted to planning, and you have another section which is totally concerned with the executions of the plans. Okay, so you could have experts there, foremen there, which are specialists in their areas, and they are there to share their experience, their expertise and skills in order to ensure that the organization operates in a smooth manner. So when we talk about significance, I will have a quick run again with the points. So we are discussing significance of scientific management. When we talk about the significance or the importance of scientific management, the first point is talking about application and use of scientific methods. So be very clear as to how you are going to go about with the functioning of your organization, be it in terms of resources, be it in terms of the processes, the procedures, the type of output. Everything is very clearly defined. There is clarity, there is no scope for confusion, conflicts. All this has to be avoided, and everything has to be worked out in a very scientific manner. Next is cooperation and understanding. There has to be a sense of cordial relation between the management and the employees. Industrial democracy, where everybody is treated with respect, empathy, compassion, and having a very humane attitude at workplace is very important. Then there is something called planning and control. So again, planning has to be done in a very scientific manner, quantitative as well as qualitative aspect. Be very clear how many units of resources and how many units of output, the type of quality goods and services that you expect to produce at the end of the entire cycle. And control in turn will help you identify any deviations, any errors, any failures taking place, and how best to take corrective measures and remedial measures in order to rectify the errors. Then we have appointing specialists. It's very important that we have experts in our enterprise to give us their guidance, to give the right instructions, to share their knowledge, their experience, their expertise in order to ensure that the organization works smoothly. Then we have the concept of standardization. Standardization here is referring to uniformity. Everything should be working in a uniform manner. There will be standards set for the type of tools that will be employed, the equipments, the machineries, the process, the procedures. Everything will have a sense of standardization, a sense of uniformity. Then they will also adopt cost accounting. Cost accounting will help us to break up the cost and identify those costs that are profitable, those activities that are profitable and unprofitable. So we can we can eliminate the unprofitable activities. We can identify areas where we can cut down the cost, and we can determine the final price of our product, which will be very competitive, which will be reasonable, and which will help us to get a greater market share. Next is increase in production. Scientific management is ensuring that we have the right men on the right job, that we will be giving the maximum output. The efficiency and productivity of the workers will be enhanced by training and development. The cost of production will be reduced. All these in turn will ultimately is to push the production to increase the production. Next item is talking about time saving. We need to identify new ways of saving time, because time is ultimately money. So if we save on time, we are cutting down on the cost. So we need to identify what are the new procedures, what are the new methods and methodology, the new techniques and technology, the new machines and machineries, like I was telling you, automation, robotics, how effective are they and how much they can help us save our time and cut the cost at the same time. So all this has to be taken into consideration. Next is no arbitrary rule. No arbitrary rule again lays stress on the fact that every decision, every aspect of the functioning of the organization should be based on facts and figures. There is no place, absolutely no place, no scope for guessworks, for trial and error way of approaching challenges. And you need to be very clear, you need to be very scientific, and entire functioning should be based on facts, data, figures, and adopt a very scientific method of functioning. Next is benefits to all. So when we talk about scientific management, we are talking about the benefits not just to the workers in terms of working for more effectively and thereby increasing their wages. We are also talking about the management increasing their profits. We are also talking about the community getting good quality goods and services at cheaper and competitive prices. Thus, scientific management is talking about benefiting not just the workers and the employers, but also society at large. Then we are talking about bringing about a mental revolution. A total transformation with our style of functioning is very much required. Our approach towards our work, our fellow workers, and towards our employer is very much required. And finally, we are talking about work specialization. We need to identify the workers in the sense which set of employees will be dealing with planning and which set of employees will be dealing with the execution. How many foremen and specialists are required in which different areas, and how best their skills and talents and capabilities and expertise can be employed to ensure a smooth and effective functioning at workplace. So with this, I have completed what is scientific management, a brief introduction to the subject. Then we talked about the principles of scientific management and significance of scientific management. I will stop here. I hope the discussion was helpful.